And then so I wanted to go to university, and I wanted to find out. Science has got all the answers, right? So
that's what world believes.
Best place to go. Yeah. I realized after doing my degrees, the scientists don't actually know, where does life begin?
Yes.
Where does it finish?
Yes.
I was always looking for answers with the mind.
Yes.
But the answer came here in the heart. He was actually very clear and very direct with me. He asked me, when am I going to become a monk?
Okay.
And I was quite shocked.
Yeah.
In Sanatana Dharma, it means path, and Bhakti means devotion. So it's really the path of devotion towards the divine. The Christians, their cross around their neck.
Yeah.
Many of them. Yeah. Or you have the sign of a fish on the back of the car. So if you're driving down the motorway, you see the sign of a fish on the back of the car. That means that they're Christian. Mine is actually tilak, and it represents this part here represents the feet of the divine.
You have 17 numbers of ashrams worldwide. You have 52 operational temples, 6 under construction.
But Paramahamsa Vishwananda knew, he said to Mavatar Babaji, this earth is going to go through great change. And something's going to be needed to help Mother Earth go through this change. But we've never looked inside. So his mission is to open the hearts of humanity so that they can experience that emanation of love. You go into Starbucks, and you can have just a coffee. You can have a coffee with a bit of cream on the top. You can have it with the
whatever you
toppings.
want.
It's a bit like this. You have the buffet of bhajan, kirtan. You have the knowledge. You can experience it in your own time and your own speed. What you have, the rich tradition that you have of Sanatana Dharma, just put it into practice. There are so many Hindus around the world that are not putting it into practice.
Yes.
You can talk about the love of God.
Yes.
You can say God loves you and all these things.
Yeah.
But you have to experience it directly. If you don't experience it, it remains faith.
Jai Gurudev Swamiji.
Jai Gurudev Raj.
Yeah. Welcome to Yogi Talk Show.
It's very nice to be on your talk shows.
Yes.
Very much appreciating being here.
Yes. So it's amazing that what I'm meeting today is a monk, basically born in UK, living in Germany, following a guru from Mauritius, the philosophy which comes from India, and sitting in Ireland. So what made you to adopt this path? Like what is the trigger? How it all started for you?
Well, I had a lot of questions when I was a small child.
Okay.
I remember holding my mother's hand, standing by the side of the road as a small child, and your parents hold on to your hand before you cross. And I was standing there thinking, what happened if I ran out in front of this car and the car hits me and I die? What happens? I was very curious about what happens to us when we die. Where do we go?
Wow.
What is the process of life?
Yes.
And
the fundamental questions of the universe you were asking when you were a child.
I was small. And I had a lot of questions, and unfortunately they couldn't answer them. So they stopped answering a lot of stuff. And I think I stopped asking questions until I got a little bit older. I think there was one key thing that I remember what kick-started this was PG Tips. Quite some years ago, the tea in England.
Yes.
They had these cards come out in a sticker book that you could collect.
Yeah.
And it was about the unexplained, about souls, poltergeists, the Bigfoot, aliens, reincarnation. And I was like, I was fascinated by the unexplained.
Okay.
And this is when everything started to kickstart. I had all these questions that I wanted to ask about life. Yeah. They started coming up.
Okay.
I think it was about 6 or 7, something
6 or 7 years of old when you had this kind of spiritual, deep questions awakening, arising within you. And then after that, how the journey started, I believe you started a typical, normal, like a, family person where, in your family, you're growing up and educating yourself. So I think you did a lot of technical degrees and all that.
Yeah. You see, as I was growing up, I was going through school and I was just interested in the unexplained.
Yeah.
And my mum, who was going back to nursing, because she brought me and my sister up, so she had to take time out. She went back to nursing, and she met one amazing lady called Patricia. And this lady had out of body experiences whilst she was just like having every day, like she was sitting on her bed tying her shoelaces, and she had out-of-body experiences, and she realized that she wasn't just the body or the mind.
Mm.
This led her to start wanting to read a lot of stuff.
Mm.
And at the age of 16, I went to meet her, and she had literally a huge library in her house of all books about all aspects of spirituality. And I used to take 6 of them, go home and read them in about a week and a half.
Wow.
And go back the next 10 days and pick up the next 6 books.
Okay.
So I was a voracious reader of spiritual stuff in my teenage years. And kids at school, nobody was interested in this. They was interested in kid stuff,
Yes.
And then so I wanted to go to university, and I wanted to find out. Science has got all the answers, right? So
that's what world believes.
Best place to go. Yeah, that's what I believed at the time. So unfortunately, I realized later that they don't.
They don't, yes.
So I went into studying biochemistry at Imperial College in London.
Yes.
And then after that, I went on to do a neuroscience degree in University College London.
Yeah.
And I realized after doing my degrees, the scientists don't actually know, where does life begin?
Yes.
Where does it finish?
Yeah.
These questions have still been left unanswered.
And I
was very disappointed with the professors. Unfortunately, I had very high expectations. But of course, that pushed me forward to my spiritual journey. And I had to answer these questions for myself.
Yes. It's interesting when you say that, because if you look at today in Google, if anybody can Google in, and there are 125 unanswered questions of this universe, top 125. So the first question comes as what exactly this universe made of, right? And then followed by many questions, what you ask at 6 years of age, where did we come from? Where are we going? Who am I? What am I? So that journey, which started with your then technical degrees and everything, and followed by, so at what point basically then you started going into this, the Bhakti Marg where you are today? So how that all happened then?
Well, it wasn't all in one go. It was a process of many steps.
Okay.
Whilst I was at university, looking for the answers to life, I was studying science, but at the same time, I went to a mind, body, spirit festival.
Okay.
Sometimes people call it the Mind, Body, Wallet Festival, because they want to sell you all the spiritual products.
Very nice.
So I got very interested in Reiki and healing. I did that for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I went into complementary therapies and studied different forms of complementary therapy.
Yeah.
Which I found fascinating, about working with healing the body and the mind, but not using conventional therapies.
Yeah.
Western medicine, let's say. That took me into the study of martial arts.
Yes.
And I was amazed by what this physical form can do, what the mind is capable of doing. So through the healing arts and through the martial arts, I was also practicing hatha yoga as well.
Okay.
I was amazed, and I had a lot of very interesting spiritual experiences over those years.
Yes.
Whilst I was at university and afterwards, that couldn't necessarily be explained by science, at least.
Yes.
But in the spirituality, there were many answers to this.
Yes.
So this brought me onwards, and I was still looking for. I didn't know what I was looking for. Actually, I'd experienced many things. I started studying sacred geometry, and in sacred geometry, it's very interesting about how, when you create light, when you know how to create light, you can create the 5 elements of creation.
Okay.
When you can create the 5 elements, you can create everything in creation. But it still didn't answer who is God.
Yes.
I was I felt like I'd been cheated.
Yes.
And so I was propelled onwards, and I had this feeling like I wanted to study Kriya Yoga.
Yes.
Because this can get you to God realization very quickly.
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, maybe I can find out who God is like this way.
Yeah.
And I was looking at different traditions of Kriya Yoga. And I went to a few talks, and I just wasn't having the feeling.
Okay.
And in 2006, I actually had the opportunity to meet Paramahamsa Vishwananda.
Vishwananda Ji, yeah.
He was giving a darshan in London.
Okay.
In Camden Town, and it was there that I had my first meeting with him.
Wow.
Yeah. And in those days, he wasn't actually teaching Kriya Yoga.
Okay.
No. His spiritual master, Mahavatar Babaji,
yeah.
He's, I think, most well known from the book of Autobiography of a Yogi.
Of yoga, yeah. Yogananda, yeah. Paramahamsa Yogananda Ji.
So he pretty much brought the knowledge of Mahavatar Babaji to the
Yes.
West.
Yes.
And that book has been propagated and read still to this day.
Oh, it's one of the most popular book out there. And those who haven't read, definitely download it or read it.
Yeah.
It's autobiography of a yogi. It's
amazing book.
Amazing book.
Yeah.
It has changed many people's life.
Absolutely. A lot of people begin to have an impact and an understanding of what living a life of the path of devotion looks like.
Yes.
Many people are inspired by what does it feel like for those people who walk that path of wanting to experience that love for God or developing that love for God, what it looks like. So I was praying to Mahavatar Babaji, you know. I hadn't read that book yet. Autobiography of a Yogi. And I was praying to Mahavatar Babaji, I want to meet a realized yoga master, Kriya master.
Yes.
And that was in 2006 I met him.
Yeah.
But in 2007 he started teaching Kriya, Paramahamsa Vishwananda.
Wow.
And interestingly, I found out later that they've had many, many, many lives together, many, many incarnations. And they've come back again and again and again and again.
Yes.
So this is why Paramahansa Vishwananda met Mahavatar Babaji when he was very small, when he was about between the age of 4 and 5.
Yeah.
He was still a very young child living in Mauritius.
Yes.
And he was at his uncle's house.
Yeah.
Now, Mauritius, there's a lot of aunties and uncles.
Yeah.
So he was at his uncle's house and he ate, unfortunately, the wrong berry. He ate a poisonous berry.
Yeah.
His uncle saw this and took him off to hospital.
Yes.
And whilst he was in the hospital, he was in a room there and he was looking out the window and there was this man outside with some of the children there. And he was giving them some sweets. And when he finished outside, he came into the room.
Yeah.
And he was looking at him as a small child.
Yeah.
And he asked the question, do you know who you are?
Yes.
And he was thinking, he didn't quite understand the question. So then Mahavatar Babaji said, do you see the light?
Yeah.
And he was looking around in the room. He couldn't see any light specifically. Yeah. And then he said, look behind. So as he looked over his shoulder, there was an incredible ball of light with smaller lights spinning very fast.
Yeah.
And all the colors of the rainbow coming out.
Yes.
And he was saying, reminiscing like when he was that small child and he was looking at that ball of light. He said all the colors of the rainbow were coming out. It was so beautiful.
Yes.
And Mahavatar Babaji said, that's who you are. So that relationship has continued in this life.
Yes.
And in 2001, Mahavatar Babaji came to Paramahamsa Vishwananda and asked him, when will you give Kriya to the people?
Yes.
And he said, I'll give Kriya when I see that the people are ready.
Yeah.
So in 2007, again, Divine Mother and Mahavatar Babaji came and said, when will you give Kriya to the people?
Yeah.
And so he sat, he meditated, and he said, okay.
So 2007 onwards, Kriya Yoga started.
Yeah.
So having this, obviously at that point you were doing the darshan of Paramahamsa Vishwananda Ji, and then at what time frame then you personally met him, and then what changed from there on? Like,
well,
I saw a photo of yours as well with him, right?
Yeah. So I've when I met him in 2000, at that time I was working and living in London. I met my girlfriend at that same time, and so I met my girlfriend at that time. Like this is like it's just a bit more than 18 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I met Guruji in the same year.
Okay.
And the first time I went to go to have darshan from him, I was expecting a lot.
Yeah.
I was expecting maybe the angels to appear and then to tell me like how amazing an experience I would have. Or
yes.
I had high expectations again. Like with the university professors, I had the same thing with
same thing with Babaji. So
this is what happens with Paramahansas. They don't necessarily follow how things are in the book.
Yes.
They will probably, they have different unconventional methods of bringing about that inner transformation.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to begin to really analyze and look to see what's going on inside of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because they often hold up the mirror and then reflect back to you what you're projecting out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people are thinking, well, this is a spiritual master, they should act like this or that. But sometimes they literally show you yourself, and then you're scratching your head because you think, well, this is how a master should be.
Yes.
But Paramahansas don't follow that conventional road or that route.
Okay.
So the first 2 darshans I had with him,
Yeah.
I didn't have any mystical spiritual experiences.
Okay. Okay.
And I thought, well, who is this guy?
Uh-huh.
Maybe he's fake.
Mhm.
Maybe he's not a realized yogi. So the third time I met him, I was sitting in this this hall in somewhere in London, and I could see him walking down the corridor to enter into the room. The second that his foot stepped across the threshold, literally the room just exploded in this most cosmic love.
Yes.
It was incredible.
Mm.
Absolutely phenomenal. I'd never experienced anything like this in my life.
Wow.
Immediately I could feel literally my heart opened and my heart went, yes.
Yes.
And that's when I knew, because I was always looking for answers with the mind.
Yes.
But the answer came here in the heart.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, my heart just went, yes. And there was just silence. There was just peace after that. But an incredible, most amazing feeling of love that I'd never experienced at all.
Wow.
And that's when I was begin to become very interested in him and started following, everything that he was doing at that time.
Yes. Yes. So, and then obviously your journey started. So we'll dwell more deeper into the Bhakti Marg philosophy. But before we go down, so at what point then you decided to wear orange and completely, and then become a monk, initiated into this path?
So it was about, I think, a year after I had met him, and so that's back in 2006. He asked me. He was actually very clear and very direct with me. He asked me, when am I going to become a monk?
Okay.
And I was quite shocked.
Yeah.
Because actually it's not a question that he asks many people just like this.
Yes.
But he asked me very, very clearly, very directly. And I was thinking, how can you do that? You can't just ask people questions like this.
Yeah.
And I had to be honest, and I said, well, if I'm going to take that path in life, and funnily enough, 10 years before, when I was 18, I was thinking about becoming a monk.
Oh.
But then I moved to university, living in London, all the things you can do in London. I forgot about it.
Yes.
And 10 years later, he's asking this question.
Yes.
And I thought, well, if I'm going to answer that question, I have to answer it with my heart.
Yes.
So I said, give me a year.
Yes.
And he smiled. He had a big smile on his face. And I was thinking, what's going on? Did I say the right thing? Or
yeah, he knew.
And literally,
probably.
he knew.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what my path in life is.
Yes.
What I came to do in this life. And literally, within 6 months, I knew that it was absolutely perfect, that this was my path for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I became initiated in July, 7th of July, 2007.
Yeah.
And I moved to Germany to his ashram.
Wow.
Yeah. To help him with developing his international.
And since then, you're just spreading dharma and teaching and everything,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. It's because when you say narrated that story, I remember the story of Ramakrishna Mutt as well, Ramakrishna Mission sect, that, a person comes to the monk and says, I want to become a monk, and this is just a graduate in a third year of his degree and one more year to go. And the Babaji says, okay, who is she? Who is she? Who broke your heart? And why do you want to? He says, no, nobody broke my heart. I still want to become a monk. I say, okay, go complete your degree, come back. And he says, but why? I would just want to be. Say, if you can, monk life is for whole life.
Yeah.
If you can wait 1 year completely, if you have a patience to do your degree for 1 more year, and then if you still have the same thought, then you come back, that means you have a determination. Otherwise, so looks like you had a very good, well thought path, for a 6 months to 1 year time frame where you take. Very nice, actually. We are fortunate you adopted this path, so we are here talking on this. So let's delve into the Bhakti Marg path, which Paramahamsa Vishwananda Ji has founded. What it is, right? I was reading, just to start with, basically, that Vishwananda Ji is a religious system tradition that emphasizes 4 things: rituals, music, knowledge, and arts. I said, I got this from... You explain to me and our viewers that what exactly it is.
So Bhakti Marg is nothing new. So Marg in, let's say, in Sanatana Dharma, it means path. And Bhakti means devotion. So it's really the path of devotion towards the divine. Now, this has been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So how can you say that Paramahansa Vishwananda has created this Bhakti Marg? He hasn't created it specifically.
Yeah.
He created an organization in 2005 on his birthday.
Yes.
So on June 13th, 2005, he started this spiritual organization called Bhakti Marga.
Yeah.
But this spiritual tradition has been around for thousands of
years.
Now, how do you express this devotion for the divine?
Yeah.
And of course, in different, let's say West and East, it manifests differently.
Yeah.
You go into churches and you'll see, statues of Mother Mary.
Yeah.
You'll hear them reading about the scriptures.
Yeah.
You'll see perhaps sometimes beautiful artworks.
Yeah.
So specifically in Hinduism, it's also manifested in so many different ways, through the music, the art, the dance. Yeah. So what Paramahansa Vishwananda's done is he's started his mission mostly in Europe. Our international center is based in Germany, which is very central in Europe. But obviously, as he's traveled around the world, it's sprung up in very many other places as well, including India. Mm. So Bhakti Marga itself, in our spiritual organization, it offers knowledge. Mm-hmm. So it's knowledge about the scriptures. So say, for example, let's say most quintessential scripture is the Bhagavad Gita. As you can see, we are Vaishnavas.
Yes, Vaishnavas. So it's for the viewers.
Yeah, exactly.
Explain, yeah.
So let's say in the West, the Christians, their cross around their neck.
Yeah.
Many of them. Yeah. Or you have the sign of a fish on the back of the car. So if you're driving down the motorway, you see the sign of a fish on the back of the car. That means that they're Christian, mostly.
Yeah.
But in the Hindu tradition, most of the different denominations, they wear their denomination on their forehead to show, what lineage they come from, which school of philosophy they come from. So this is why this sign is actually tilak, and it represents here. This part here represents the feet of the divine, of the Lord.
Yes.
And so it represents one who wears it is being given the permission to wear it. It means that they're leading a life where they are trying to surrender to the feet of the Supreme Being, of the Lord.
Yes.
Now, this part here is called the asan, that's on the nose.
Yeah.
It's the seat. And it represents Tulsi, which is devotion herself. It's one of the wives of the Lord.
Yeah.
And then the dot represents the Guru, where he ignites that flame of divine love inside the heart of the devotee.
Yes.
So he awakens that devotion that's within the heart. Yeah. It's already there. It's there.
It's there.
But it needs to be awakened, like fanned into a flame.
Yeah.
And then the line represents Mahalakshmi herself.
Yeah.
So as we go on our spiritual journey, we are very attached to the material, let's say, life. And as we continue on the spiritual journey, it goes up thinner and thinner and thinner until that attachment to the spiritual, let's say, world becomes renounced completely.
Yes.
It doesn't mean to say we stop living in the world.
Yeah.
But the attachment to it is renounced.
Yes. And then this Bhakti Marg, obviously that you explained the whole, the symbolism around it. And then it follows a very deep philosophy of Vishishtadvaita as well, which comes from Vedanta text as well, Prasthantrayi. What is that Vishishtadvaita for people who wants to understand the Bhakti Marg?
Just to put it very simply, there are four, let's say, original lineages in the Vaishnava tradition. Mm-hmm. The lineage that we come from is the Sri Sampradaya. This was inspired by a person called Ramanujacharya. Mm-hmm. Now, Ramanujacharya, he was born in 1017. He lived for 120 years. Mm-hmm. And so he was living in South India. And at that time, Adi Shankaracharya was prior to him. He had come up with a system, a school of understanding of philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. Yeah. And of course, Ramanujacharya coming along, let's say a couple of 100 years later, he disagreed with that. And he decided to come up with his own system of philosophy of understanding, So, because he was at school and his teacher was an Advaita Vedantic and a philosopher, and he was getting teased at school for his beliefs, his ideas. And of course, in southern India at that time, you had a lot of the teachings of the Alvars.
Yes.
And these are, let's say, partial manifestations of the Lord, of Narayana, who've manifested on the earth through all levels of society, actually.
Yeah, it's India is like a so big philosophical tradition that while, no, I don't want to criticize West, but in West, that time, if you disagree, the sword will solve the solution. In India, it was intellectual war. I will write a book.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't agree. I'll come up with a new philosophy.
So, completely true, though, because in that time, when they would have philosophical debates, the one who would win would have to submit to the other one.
Yes, exactly.
So and that was the culture at the time. So Ramanujacharya didn't agree with the Advaita Vedantic principle that Adi Shankaracharya brought forth. So what happened is he set out to create his own. And he drew on a lot of the principles, the teachings found in the teachings from the Alvars, all the poetry, which is called the Divya Prabandham. And he basically systemized the teachings and came up with this philosophy of Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. So essentially, to make it really simple, because maybe a lot of the viewers don't understand philosophy very well. Basically, to put it, it is that there are three things that compose everything. There is God, Ishvara. There's inert matter, Achit, and Chit, which is conscious beings. And everything that can ever be experienced is comprising of these three. And so Vishishtadvaita Vedanta is, what is that relationship between the soul, between God, and everything else?
Material,
let's say, reality. So just this, what's that relationship between God, the soul, and material reality?
God, soul, and material reality. These three things. That simple relationship. That's what it is. And so and there've been many people that have let's say, are the way that we interpret the Bhagavad Gita is through that form of philosophy, Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. And so the commentary that Paramahamsa Vishwananda has given is based basically through that lens. I saw that the Vishwananda Ji has written around 12 books already on various things and some Gitas and a lot of scriptures there. And so for a common person, so you explained the philosophy now. If I'm sitting there and I say, great, Swamiji has explained me a lot of things, I also want to join. So what are the things I will be doing if I join you? What are the things like for me to, where do I start with? How do I go with?
Well, that's a good question. Where do we start?
Yes.
The simple answer to that question is that we have, let's say, when you can go directly into our main international website, which is www.bhaktimarga.org. When you go onto that main page, you can find about the path. So you click on that, and you can see about music, about the creative arts. You can see about knowledge. You can see about rituals. You can see about the 4 different aspects that we have. You can just click into knowledge, and there's a simple talk by one of the other swamis about that, and how, if you want to get more access to the knowledge, where you can sign up. And we have some free online courses that you can go through and just peruse at your own time, and look to see, okay, is that something I'm interested in? Is that something I want to go deeper?
Very good. So while we're delving into obviously the organizational level, I have lots of questions. Maybe we'll just finish on the organizational level. I was just looking at the numbers. They're staggering to me, like they're huge. The way this Bhakti Marg has grown up, you have 17 numbers of ashramas worldwide. You have 52 operational temples, 6 under construction, 44 Bhakti Marga centers. And 400 Atma Kriya Yoga teachers are there. That's amazing, like 400 them across the world, and 11,000 plus Kriya Yogi worldwide, which are practicing, 100 plus available satsang online, 5 yoga meditation practice brought to the world. And then this is something interesting I came up, 4,700 Om chanting organizers around the world. What is that?
Okay. Very interesting that you asked this, because as part of the Atma Kriya system that's being developed, this was developed between Paramahamsa Vishwananda and Mahavatar Babaji.
Wow.
Mahavatar Babaji being, let's say, the father of the Kriya tradition.
Yeah.
And obviously, Most of the people don't have the time and the capacity to sit like the ancient yogis in caves for 12 hours or 24 hours a day and meditate.
Yes.
And so they've devised a Kriya system that's more applicable for people today.
Yes.
But Paramahamsa Vishwananda knew, he said to Mavatar Babaji, this earth is going to go through great change. And something's going to be needed to help Mother Earth go through this change. He said, can we bring back this ancient technique called Om chanting that was originally, as far as I'm aware, was established in the Himalayas, and it was practiced by the ancient rishis thousands of years ago. Many people sit and chant Om, maybe at home by themselves.
Yes.
This is a practice of itself.
Yeah.
But this is a specific practice that hasn't been used for a very long time, for thousands of years. They brought it back. It's one of the 9 techniques in Atma Kriya, and it's used for healing. Now, we don't, it's called Om chanting. We used to call it Om healing, and technically, the Western systems of practice of medicine, you can't use that terminology, so we call it Om chanting. But it's essentially, Om is that creative vibration. It's not specific to any tradition or religion. It is inherently the vibration through which the universe comes into manifestation. And so it has an impact on every level of creation. When we come and sit in a specific constellation, 2 circles of people, one inside, one outside. The outer one's facing inwards, and the inner circle is facing outwards. When we sit and we chant and we call on the presence of the masters, essentially, it has an impact on everything a kilometer from that center of the circle. So 2 kilometers in every distance. It has an impact on balancing and harmonizing all aspects of creation.
Wow.
And many clairvoyants who come there, they experience incredible changes taking place. So we have Om chanting groups all the way around the world now in about these 82 countries. And when we have full moon, we often do Om chanting specifically at that time because the impact of the moon on the element of water and the element of water inside of us. Cheers. it can have an impact on the water element and the emotional aspect of our being.
Yes.
So what this does is we become more emotional,
yes,
more rational, and at that time of the month you have more accidents. Insurance companies know that there's more car accidents at that time, more crime.
Wow.
So we do Om chanting specifically to counterbalance that, to bring more harmony, more peace, more connection with oneself at that time of the month.
Wow. Wow.
And it does have a huge impact on people, really.
So this Vishishtadvaita comes from Vedanta philosophy. In Vedanta, the way I understood that Vedanta is, it explains that what you are basically, when you join the spiritual path or follow the Vedantic teachings, you find what you already have and you lose what you never had, the ignorance. So what is that, Swamiji? Can you explain to me, what is this thing? What am I?
Okay, put it very, very simply. Paramahamsa Vishwananda, his mission is to open the hearts of humanity. Yeah. Jesus said in the Bible, God is love.
Yes.
But people are looking for love in all areas of life, often in the wrong places. How many of us have looked for love in relationships that have not worked out? Yeah. We've looked for love for things, for places, but we've never looked inside. So his mission is to open the hearts of humanity so that they can experience that emanation of love that comes from the source of who we truly are, which is the Atma, the soul. So who we truly are is the Atma, the soul. But what is emanating from that continuously all the time is that quality of unconditional love, divine love. And that's what people are looking for.
Yes.
They're looking to know who they truly are.
Yes.
Like when I was a child,
yes.
when I was holding my mum's hand and thinking, what happens to me?
Yeah.
Where will I go after I die? It's that experience, that revelation begins to happen.
Yeah.
Or can happen, especially at that time.
Yeah.
So we're looking for who we truly are. And we are looking principally for that quality of love, divine, unconditional love.
Yes. Specifically when a person like you, who has seen the world of the Western world where you grew up, you're totally familiar with, but then you got interacted with the Eastern wisdom, Eastern philosophy as well. So you see the both sides of the coin. Today, when you look at, obviously the East is trying to become West, and West is potentially heading towards East, right?
Yeah.
It's like a flip thing happening. So there is a message for both here, right? For West, there is a message, and for East, there is a message. So if I start with the West, that, right? The Western world today is, the family system is slightly, it's shaky today. It has gone shaky. And the basic fundamentals, what used to be there, and today, the society is facing enormous challenges, specifically our youngsters. Like, there's alcoholism, there is drugs, and there is like various things seeping into the mind, and then eventually leading to stress, anxiety, depression. So when you see all these problems, and then you see the sect of Bhakti Marg, spreading all the good thing what society need. How do you bridge this gap? How do you advocate to the people that come and join, and how do you convince them?
Don't really convince them.
Okay.
To be honest, I mean, a lot of people are looking for love.
Yes.
And a lot of people are unhappy in life.
Yes. Oh, huge.
But Paramahamsa Vishwananda has been traveling the world for so many years, giving darshan. And I know people that haven't done a day of meditation. They've never looked for anything spiritual. But yet somehow they're guided to find him. And when they've come for his darshan and experienced, like you were saying earlier, through reading all the scriptures, we come to realizing, what is not real, and coming to the revelation of what was real. What is that true reality, that eternal reality inside of us? That's his job, is to reveal that for us. To give us a glimpse of that reality. And when people have an experience of that incredible love, like that moment when he walked into the room and the whole room just exploded with that incredible love, immediately my heart opened and I could feel that he was just pure love. People are looking for that experience of that divine love. And he said many times, I don't give you something what you don't already have. You are that.
You are that.
He's just cleaning a little bit so that reality can filter through to our senses. And obviously, so in Bhakti Marga, to answer your question, mostly, nobody's convinced to join the path. Nobody's asked to join the path, in the sense that a lot of people, when they come into contact with him, they begin to have experiences that they begin to realize there's much more to life. And as a result of that, they begin to look for their own answers. And then they find Bhakti Marga and they, this seems to be, for me, what my heart is pulling me towards. And so that's exactly how that happened for me. So, of course, there are other people that just come. We go out into the world. We do Om chanting in 82 different countries. And so people come and they want to have an opportunity to move from the mind to the heart. Like Om chanting, it's such a simple method to move out of the mind. We were sitting in Hammersmith in London a few weeks ago. We just finished the Om chanting, and all you could feel was, you could hear a pin drop. There was like 15 people sitting there, and it's so incredibly silent. And you can feel there's no fluctuation of the mind, just that silence. And people are looking to switch off that mind. They're looking for peace. And many people come across Bhakti Marga through Om chanting, or perhaps also the kirtans, the bhajan, the stuff that we're putting out online. So people feel called either towards the music, towards the sadhana, towards the creative arts. There are different aspects where they just feel connected, and they decide to start that path.
So when a person joins, you are having the rituals, the music, the knowledge and arts, like, are these happening separate, or these are happening part of like an event? Just today the event is happening and then all these activities are going on in parallel, or there is definitely, like what I saw is that there is a kirtan only. So that's like people just go for kirtan only, right?
So it's a bit like you go into Starbucks,
Yeah.
and you can have just a coffee. You can have a coffee with a bit of cream on the top. You can
Yes.
have it with the
Whatever
chocolate
you want.
toppings.
Yeah.
It's a bit like this. You have the buffet of bhajan, kirtan. You have the knowledge. You can experience it in your own time and your own speed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want one, you can just go for one.
Mm.
So there are different aspects to it.
Mm.
But what gives it its richness is you can find how the knowledge is connected to the rituals.
Mm.
You can find how the knowledge is also connected to the bhajan, the kirtan,
Yes.
and singing about the lives of the saints. That were worshipping Krishna or worshipping the deities.
Yeah.
Also through the creative arts, and then you can find out and learn how to perform dance, where that you're reenacting some of the stories of the divine.
Yeah.
So there's the connections. You begin to experience more of the interconnection between each of the different aspects.
Mm.
And each person, according to what they resonate with, will come into contact with that. And often for many people, they begin that journey of exploring others, the other aspects.
So when I said the east to west, west to east, so when we talked about the western part, so you are kind of answered that. Look, if you're looking for the love, pure love, come join us, experience the whole thing, and then using the rituals, music, knowledge, arts. These are the methods how you can connect to the divine, to your inner Atma, and then practice Atma Kriya Yoga and all that activities. So, which is a very good message for the Western world, because we have a Western monk sitting here. You come and join and feel yourself. But what do we do with these East, the people who come specifically from the Indian subcontinent, especially from the India? They are sitting with the jackpot of this spirituality, and they are not realizing it. Some of the youngsters I see, they are basically not adopting it, and while their family tradition, this was part of their tradition, and then they're hitting the roadblocks like me, right? They come across stress, anxiety, depression, many issues in life. Then they realize. So why leave it at the first place? So what is your message to these people?
So essentially, it's very simple. What you have, the rich tradition that you have of Sanatana Dharma, just put it into practice. There are so many Hindus around the world that are not putting it into practice.
Yes.
They've come to the West. They've seen the allure of the West. You know how you can have money, you can get rich, you can have so many things, all the material side of things. And they realize this is not making me happy.
Yeah.
This stress, having to pay the mortgage, having to run the family, having to run the business and everything. This is not giving me the happiness I'm looking for.
Yes.
It's giving me a headache.
It is reality.
How can I calm that mind?
Yeah.
How can I de-stress? And you have Ashtanga yoga.
Yes.
You have many different forms and practices.
Yes.
In Sanatana Dharma that can bring you back into harmony with yourself, to quiet the mind, to open the heart fully.
Yes. So to
put it into practice.
Yes.
That's simple.
Whatever tradition, whatever sect, whatever form you are having in your family or your lineage, the message Swamiji is giving, start practicing it. It doesn't matter whether you join Bhakti Marg or something, but do whatever you are following. Don't leave it.
One thing I would have to say in relation to that, though, is it's interesting. We have a lot of a huge amount of Indians living in the West nowadays.
Yes. Yes, it is.
And what I've seen is that some of the challenge there lies in that as they're brought up and they're experiencing different traditions, they're losing their connection with the spiritual tradition.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're just told to do stuff.
Yeah.
But they're not actually explained why it's important.
Yeah.
And there's that missing gap.
Yes.
And so in let's say in my generation, I would say in people in their 40s, they've maybe been brought up in the Western world, and they haven't been properly educated. Why is this important?
Yeah.
Why is it that you should perform the sadhana like this? What is it going to do for you? And I think there's that missing gap where a number of them have thought, okay, well, we don't know why this should be done.
Yeah.
We don't know why then what the value in this is. So we can just forget about it.
Yeah.
And then this disconnection happens.
Yeah.
And so I have a few friends that are, let's say, in their 40s, 50s, Hindus, growing up in England and in the West, and they've discontinued their practices because they weren't actually taught why they should be done and the value of doing them and what happens when you do them.
Yes.
So this is very, very important to understand,
Essence
why.
of it. Why? Yeah, exactly. Why you are doing it. And that why answer comes when you are connected with your tradition and with your scriptures. It's interesting. So now we come just to understand the presence of Bhakti Marg sect in Europe specifically, and then Ireland. How big is the presence? How many centers are there within Europe? And I know you do a lot of travel yourself.
So within Europe, we have 2 ashrams in Germany, France, Portugal, England, Italy. We have temples in all of those countries.
Wow.
Plus Spain. We have quite a lot of centers throughout Europe because Paramahamsa Vishwananda, he's started his international mission in Germany, and so a lot of people from primarily Europe have been coming and visiting, and he's visited the European countries decades over. Many times he's visited them. So what's happening in Europe primarily, most of the people have been coming and following him. So temples and ashrams have been opening up, with many of the European countries. So here in Ireland, we have a group. We don't have a temple. We don't have an ashram.
Yes.
Maybe that will happen in the future.
Oh, yes.
But, it's people find out about him online and they're like, okay, who is he? What does he do? I want to meet him.
Yeah.
And this is how it begins. So in Europe, I think we have, like, worldwide, we have about 4,000 devotees, ones that have been initiated into this path, the spiritual path, and have said, yes, okay, I trust that he is my spiritual master. I want to follow him for the rest of my life. I want to put into practice the practices that he is endorsing and recommended. And so the devotees are ones who are putting into practice and trying to live the life that he's given.
So it's a 4,000 kind of a monk or semi-monk kind of people. Or
they can be how do you say, students at university. They can be grihastas, like married.
Yes.
They can be elderly. It doesn't matter.
But they're initiated ones.
They're initiated.
Okay.
And just in that initiation, they make that choice. I want to follow his teachings.
Oh, okay.
And I wish to follow him specifically.
Yeah. But then there are thousands of other followers, basically. They come and join.
They come for events. They come for teachings. They have an online darshan. So in COVID, nobody could travel.
Yes.
So he said, okay, well, then I'm going to go to them.
Yeah.
So he used to travel around the world giving darshan.
Yeah.
So what we had to do was change the whole thing, the setup.
Yeah.
And he started giving darshan through every, like all the mobile phones, the laptops.
Yeah.
And so we started using Zoom for this.
Wow.
And he was able to reach people literally on a daily basis. He was giving darshan, sometimes in the morning and in the evening, day after day after day after day.
Yeah.
So he reached hundreds of thousands around the world.
Yes.
Within a few months.
Yeah, I saw that the social media presence is very strong there. And there are over 2,000. The YouTube channel has like nearly 500,000 subscribers, 2,000 videos there, 250K frequent listeners are there across close to 160 countries. Lots of followers, 130,000 in Instagram, and then there are like 2,500 reels and close to 250,000 plus followers on TikTok, and close to 100 million views on TikTok. It's amazing, and it's and then there are music, published CDs and kirtans. It just goes on and on. I was reading, it's amazing. 221 cities they have. The darshan you're saying, 390 darshan worldwide. It's fascinating that a simple person. Today we call him a great yogi and Gurudev, but how one person is changing the world.
Well, he's not just a normal person.
Yes.
I have to be completely honest. I mean, I have lived with him for the last 18 years.
Wow.
I've traveled with him on many occasions.
Wow.
The speed at which he has gone is not normally humanly possible.
Yes, yeah.
When you're in your 18, 19, you
Yeah.
like you're at the not for most people, I think, like 18, 19, 20, they're at their peak of fitness, like their power. And I know many 18, 19-year-olds can't keep up with him. He'll go in Portugal. He has a very large following in the country of Portugal. He'll go there. He'll give a darshan,
Yes.
like 16 hours, 20 hours, and after that he's singing for an hour, jumping up and down, singing. And then when he goes home, they have dinner at breakfast time. And so he goes home and everybody's dead tired because they've been doing seva.
Yeah.
Because thousands of people have been coming for darshan, and he sits down and he has his dinner at breakfast, and then he says, let's watch a movie. And everybody's like, no, please. They're asleep. He's so full of energy.
Yeah.
Because he's in that state of divinity, that energy, that divine energy is just flowing.
It is.
And so due to having that capacity,
Yeah.
he's able to do so much more than what a normal human being can.
Yeah.
And so this is why he's been able to really empower also many people to be able to perform and make such a big movement forwards in a short space of time.
Yeah, these are like, it's amazing that enlightened being, when they come, it's as you said before, it's the reincarnation of some great soul. These are, and we're very fortunate that in this life we come across these people, awaken our own soul as well. I read the book as well myself, and a lot of things in the book of the autobiography of a yogi. It was a lot of people have I have come across many YouTube videos, very great people who read the book and it changed their life completely. For me, it was, I wouldn't say I definitely had unusual experiences when I was reading it, because there were moments when it describes about various experience of great sadhus, Mahavatar, Babaji and all that. Initially it looked to me like unreal, but then as you delve deeper into this, you kind of realize, no, this is possible, this is possible, this is possible, the way it was narrated. And I have read many people who changed their life just by reading the book. It's amazing that how one book can change. So the Kriya Yoga is something which comes from that tradition as well. And then Gurudev has changed this, like not changed, he invented Atma Kriya Yoga. So this Atma Kriya Yoga, describe to us like what it is, and is it something I can practice?
Yes.
Okay. So explain
Absolutely,
to me.
Yeah. So Atma Kriya is a form of Kriya Yoga. Mahavatar Babaji himself has been giving Kriya Yoga to yogis for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So he's known as the immortal yogi. But thousands of years ago, humanity was very different. People were very different. The pace of life was completely different. Nowadays, people don't have much time. So Atma Kriya is essentially what Atma Kriya means. Atma means soul, and Kriya is composed of two, let's say, different definitions. Kriya meaning action, and Ya meaning awareness. So it's essentially bringing you to the awareness of your soul, and you have that awareness of the soul in any actions you're performing. So it's bringing you back to the true reality of who you are. Now for that, there are 9 techniques within Atma Kriya. So principally we have japa, we're chanting the divine name. We have Nada Kriya, so listening to the divine sounds within us. We have mudras, asanas. We have different forms of meditation, and there's also Shaktipata. So that's the grace that's imparted to the person who's taking the course. They receive the Shaktipata initiation, and that Shaktipata is passed on by Mahavatar Babaji, Paramahamsa Vishwananda, to that individual.
Okay.
And so that's like the key. You can have a Ferrari, beautiful, should go really amazingly.
Yeah.
But unless you have put the key in the ignition and turn it, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yes.
So the Shaktipat's like the key ignition. In the ignition, turning, and it's enabling that cosmic love that's infused into the techniques to transform you. Yes. So Atma Kriya can be practiced by pretty much most people. Yes. It does take you through a process of transformation.
Yes.
It will bring up things that you need to look at and choose for yourself, who is it that I want to be? So it is a powerful technique, but it does help you little by little quiet the mind to develop that quality of discipline. And Atma Kriya it's really for this modern time. And so to practice this, you don't need to sit for hours and hours and hours. You can, most people that practice, I would say, around about a period of like 45 minutes on average. And it's very, very useful for calming the mind, centering, focusing you, and getting you to experience that love inside of yourself. Yeah.
So, a lot of people, now I will play a little bit of devil's advocate, right?
Cool.
And a lot of people say,
like
yes. So a lot of people say this, like, which basically for okay, you're saying that, three things are there, that the divine, the materialistic world, and then the soul or the self, basically three things. Everything revolves around the Bhakti Marg, around that. Maybe you guys are, I would say, people can say, it's a blind faith, it's not the real. So that goes back to the question that the people who ask this question, they don't understand the difference between religion and dharma, Sanatana Dharma and religion. Would you be able to kind of elaborate that this is not a blind faith, what you are talking here?
Yeah, sure. Easy.
Okay.
Experience. You can talk about the love of God.
Yes.
You can say God loves you and all these things.
Yeah.
But you have to experience it directly. If you don't experience it, it remains faith. When you experience it, you know it's really true.
Okay.
You know it's there. You have experienced it yourself. And that helps you to build that faith even more. You know that reality really exists.
Okay.
If somebody asks me, do you believe in God? I would say no. And I would ask them back, do you believe in water? Well, yes, it's part of reality.
Yes.
For me, that divinity that we have inside of ourselves, it is there. It's been experienced.
Because you have experienced it.
Through His grace, that's
Through
been possible.
His grace, yes.
That reality He is great at opening that window to reveal that true essence of who you are. That's why He's come. And that's why in this world it's so easy to become deluded by this is all there is. And so most people that are following a religious path, it's purely about, have you experienced the essence of what you're following? And when you do experience that essence of what you're following, your whole perspective of life changes. Your perspective of yourself changes. And that's what's needed.
Okay. So I'm just a normal guy out there with a mortgage, car, everything. Why do you want me to follow the path of spirituality?
I want you to experience who you truly are. I want you to experience and know for yourself that
I'm
that
happy
you
with
are
my
divine love.
I'm happy with my Monday to Friday, everything, having parties in the evening. So why do you want me to just, drop everything and just some experiences? Why?
Everybody is welcome to live the life that they want to live. But some years ago, I was sitting in a darshan with Paramahamsa Vishwananda, and I was sitting in the music section singing, and I saw these two guys coming, and they looked like Hell's Angels motorcyclists. They're big guys with the tattoos, with the big beards, big bellies, with the studs through their eyes, their noses, their ears, and they were coming for darshan, and they were going up in the queue to receive darshan from him. And I was thinking, what are these guys doing here? They're in the wrong place. Like many people in the world, maybe they're in the wrong place. They park their motorcycles in the wrong car park. These are Hell's Angels motorcyclists. And I was thinking, they must be
Lost.
They're lost. And they went up to receive darshan, and one of the guys started shaking like this, and I was thinking, oh my God, he's having a Kundalini experience or something. But when he turned around, his beard was wet with his tears.
Wow.
Already just a grown man like this, like hard man, a person that you would pass by on the street and not want to be too close to. he was already reduced to that state of just like the innocence of a child in a few seconds in the presence of that love. We say that we're really happy in life and we have all these things, but how many people are really sincere and are like, am I truly happy?
To acknowledge that, yeah.
I can lose all of this in a day.
Yeah.
Like literally, there are people who I know that have lost everything in a day.
Yes, yes.
And then you lose all of that. Are you still happy?
Trump is making the world to realize that yesterday, that you can lose everything.
You can.
Trillions and trillions of dollars have been wiped out from market on April 2 when he announced the tariffs.
Yeah. So you might say, yeah, I'm happy. I have all of this.
Yeah.
And then you lose it next week. Are you still happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. So what is the greater vision of Bhakti Marg then? Like a long-term roadmap or anything? Like I know one of them is you're saying enlighten every being with the love, and so.
Okay. So well, it's to continue what we're doing. The long-term vision is to really give people the experience of God's love. And that's his principal mission, is to open the hearts of humanity. You can't experience love unless your heart is open.
Yeah.
So his work is to open people's hearts and then give them a road to move from here to here, which isn't very far, but it's hard to get to and stay and stay there.
The longest path.
The longest journey, yeah.
Longest journey.
Which is only 40
Shortest
centimeters.
path, longest journey.
Yeah. 40 centimeters. Oh my God. You can drive from here to Scotland and get there faster than going from here to here sometimes. So the long-term view is essentially to give people in many, many countries the opportunity to walk a spiritual path where they can move from their minds to their hearts and help them to experience the love of God, but really in themselves, at home. It's a personal experience. And for each person, it's going to be different.
Yes.
But it's a path that works. It's a path that has been walked by many saints already and attained that knowledge of who they are and attained the grace of the divine.
And do you think the world is listening to you guys? Like, do you see acceptance?
More and more.
More and more.
Yeah.
And do you see in the Western world, like when the youngsters or whatever people come, like they get convinced easily? Or...
I have to be honest. Like the first time I came to meet him, I wasn't convinced at all.
Okay.
The first time I went to one of the devotees meetings and they were doing a Hindu ritual. They was pouring milk and honey over this monkey statue. And I was trying so hard not to laugh. It was one of those inappropriate moments where you try so hard not to laugh.
Yeah.
That was it. And I left, and me and my girlfriend at that time, we left and we was laughing all the way home saying, these people are crazy. Now I do this as a living. And I just didn't understand the wisdom behind the traditions.
Yes.
I didn't understand the purpose of why all this was being done.
Yes.
So yes, people might look at it very, very strange.
Yeah.
When I get on the plane and you can see the people's heads above the seats from about here upwards, and I see the eyes, people looking at me like, oh my God, who is this strange man, like with this thing on his head? I hope he doesn't sit next to me. And you can see the initial fear, but ultimately there's no need for people to be frightened. And show them there's no fear. There is no need for fear. We're here to remind you and give you a path to know who you truly are.
Yeah, because obviously then you follow Sanatana Dharma, vegetarianism, non-violence. These are the part of our principles. Like we can't even harm an ant. Forget about harming in a human. Yeah. So is there any, like, we are in Ireland right now. Ireland has close to 100,000 population of Indian diaspora specifically, and out of that, I think close to 60,000 are Hindu faith as well, Hindu Sanatana Dharma. There's a churning happening in them as well, right? And many times they don't know about Bhakti Marg sect as well. Is there any last message you want to give it to them and also the Indian the wider Irish community as well?
I think that would be that people are looking for spirituality in general, and there is many different aspects, let's say paths to spirituality. Learn to trust your heart. to be honest. Learn to trust yourself. Because when you trust yourself, you trust your heart, you're connected with your heart. By quietening the mind, life will show its path for you. You just have to walk that path. But when we don't trust ourselves, when we don't trust life, life can be very difficult. And you might have spirituality all around you, and you don't know if this is your thing or not. So for many people, it's really about learning to trust themselves. And learning to listen to the intuition. The first thing that comes inside when you ask a question, where is my path? Listen intently to the very first thing that comes. This is the intuition, and then straight after that is the mind. And so, and follow your path of life that's been already given to you. Doesn't mean to say life is going to be easy, and spirituality is not easy. It is a challenge, but yet that path of spirituality does bring transformation. Yeah.
Very good. Well, it was such a pleasure to talk to Swamiji, and we are in just, I think, 20-30 miles from Dublin, and the capital of Ireland, a beautiful Ireland. And it was such a pleasure to talk to you for last whatever an hour or so. Thank you so much for having here in this eYogi talk. So thank you. Thank you.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.